Cobalt blinked wide eyes at the barn. It was the largest two-leg structure he'd ever seen, and he'd yet to step paws into it. He'd only been here for a few sunrises. It was his next place to settle, and he wasn't sure what he thought about it yet. There weren't many cats here, and the ones he did meet, he couldn't get a good read on. One thought was above the rest, though. He was hungry. His eyes narrowed to the cat. Well, look who it is, little soft paws. What do you think you're doing? Ugh, it's that loner I talked to you about, he whispered to Crackle. His ear flicked. I wanted to ask what the prey looks like here. Are you eating the barn mice, or do you hunt in the moor? Wouldn't you like to know? If you must, we've been hunting in the barn. Those cats have been more ruthless. He hopped down. Ruthless? He blinked. There's cats out there? Is that why you're stuck in the barn? Stuck. We're not stuck. We choose to keep away. Those cats are as worse as they come. Just like you. Rex approached Cobalt from behind, raising his head as he did so. His ears perked. I just wanted prey. He swiped his paw over the dirt as he turned, flinching when he saw the other cats. Jeez. You're as weak as a kitty pet. Worse than however I was. It's pathetic. He started to move in closer like a predator. His tongue clicked at the word prey. Prey? From us? Oh, begging things, Sir Jingles. He let out a laugh, tisking slowly. Really, the audacity from this one. He clicked his tongue. He winced a bit. Okay, fine, understood. He glanced around a bit. I'll find my own prey. He swept his paw over his fur, forcing it to lie flat. Rex's ears were pointed forward, eyes stuck on the head of this loner as he approached. His attempts to keep his fur flat were fruitless when the rogue reapproached. Don't come to cats better than something of yourself, asking for the pleasures of freedom. His expression remained simple, though lips pulled up into a sneer. Beggars aren't welcomed, fur scrap. I wasn't begging. His tail flicked over his front paws. I just wanted to know where to look. And steal our meals? Starve us? He pushed, tone sharpening. All you had to say is that there isn't room for another. He pushed himself onto his paws. That would never get across to a thing like you, he sneered, raising a paw to shove against Cobalt's flank. Run off wherever you came from. We don't need your fleas. His fur bristled as the rain began to fall, flattening it. I was going to look for those cats you spoke about anyway. They seem nicer than any cat at the barn. Rex's whiskers twitched at the feeling of the rain against his short pelt. Oh, I'm sure. WindClan sure is friendly to folks like you, alone with no name. They'd kill you before you even thought. His whiskers twitched to get the rain off of them. His tail swept over his ankles as they stood there, staring at the rogue. He didn't have much else to say. His eyes narrowed, a snarl leaving his maw. Rex then raised a paw once more, moving it to near the claw at the feline's cheek. No one needs an extra mouth to feed. You have no place here. He flinched, backing up, getting the message clear. He patted away toward the far edge of the fenced area, murmuring something to himself. He sat, the shed doing a poor job of keeping the rain off his pelt. He put his head down and waited out the rain. Cobalt squinted his eyes open as the light in the sky began to shift. It was almost dawn now. He hopped over the side fence, intent on avoiding the rogues. He glanced around the moor as the rain lessened to a drizzle. The rain had washed away any cat scent, confusing him. Cobalt lifted his tail, standing tall. Hello. I looked past the bush of berries, eyeing the outsider, my ears angle, tail tip flicking. Was that the cat from yesterday's patrol? I slithered beneath the bush and past the others, keeping my posture as intimidating as I could be. What are you doing on WindClan territory? I came from... He glanced over at Highstones. I traveled to this territory. I heard some cats talking about a clan here. And yet you still thought it was a good idea to trespass? I frowned, brows knitting. You outsiders aren't welcome on our territory. Couldn't you smell the border? I gestured my head over to the fallen branch. My previous patrol had left fresh claw marks on its bark. I couldn't smell any markings because of the rain. He lowered his posture. But I promise I'm not like the cats in the barn. They're nasty. He wrinkled his nose. And why should we believe you? Why shouldn't we think you aren't like the rest of those pesky rogues? I push. You're right, he eventually chirped. I haven't proven to you any different, but I'll try to show you that I mean no harm. We aren't interested in watching you prove yourself. I grit my teeth, nose bridge scrunching. At the end of the day, you're all the same. Greedy and malicious. He dipped his head slightly, eyeing the other two cats that hadn't spoken. They didn't seem to object, however. Alright. Brez and Cloud, Sandy Shore finally spoke. Let's be a bit nicer here. Sure, they shouldn't be nice to a loner, but it's one cat, what could they do? Tumble nodded in agreement with Sandy Shore. Why should we give the outsiders an inch of our kindness? I glared at Sandy Shore. Don't soften up just because they're strangers. Because it's one cat. What harm can he do? Kill us all? Sandy Shore mewed, keeping calm. I shake my head, looking back to Cobalt. Get off of our territory before I drive you out myself, I demand. You aren't welcome here, remember that. He nodded, tail flicking. Thank you for using words rather than claws, he said sincerely, bounding off. He sat on the pallet, once again away from the others, and cleaned the dew off his pelt. He patted over, his eyes on the feline. There you are. Haven't seen... He stopped with a certain scent in his nose. Cobalt flinched, not having scented the cat. Hunt too close to WindClan. No, you smell too much like them. Were you interacting with them? Of course you would. What are you thinking? I wanted to see them for myself, he spoke softly. The cats here... He glanced over to the one sitting on a box in the distance. They're not too kind. He hissed. Seemed even the scent was making him mad. You're foolish. They're dangerous and way stronger than you think. Compared to us, we're as kind as kitty pets. They'll eat you alive. For once, I agree with you, Crackle, he called out in a teasing manner. They didn't even flex their claws at me. His eyes narrowed at Rex, with a huff, then turned back to Cobalt. Sure they didn't. Maybe one of their specials were with them. Don't want to claw your face off in front of their apprentices, he hummed, eyeing over to Glare. And next, they just hand you prey off a silver platter. A softie like you wouldn't get it. They're not like that. Whatever, he tensed. Not like any of you have my better interest anyway. Sure we do. Softness gets you killed, so keep making up your fake thoughts on them. But know the truth, they will never accept the likes of us, or you. I'm not like you, he spat, once again dismissing himself in the middle of a conversation. His whiskers twitched as he took a deep breath, leaving the argument behind. Maybe if he brought food to the cats, they'd realize he wasn't anything like those rogues. Great, a mouse. Now he just needed to find a cat to give it to. His ears perked. This was one of those cats from that patrol.
Humble got up from his hunting stance as he stared at the cat uphill from him.
Hey, I got something for your clan.
Humble approached the cat. And what would that be? He stared at the mouse in the cat's maw.
His tail waved. It's just a mouse, but I can get more. By the look of it, you have many mouths to feed.
Humble gave a warm smile to the cat. What brings you back to WindClan territory? He said, not in a harsh tone, but one of curiosity.
I want to help, he sat. I've always been a wanderer, but when I found cat groups, they only had a few cats. I've never seen this many cats in one place, and I can imagine it isn't easy.
Humble nodded, sitting down as he talked with the cat. If you can hunt as well as I think, he said at the mouse in the cat's maw, WindClan might warm up to you if you hunt with us.
You think? His whiskers twitched. I'm not looking to live with you, He glanced back to the barn. I don't want to be seen as a threat.
You said there were other rogues. Why don't you hunt with them? Tumble naively asked.
The same reason you turned them away, he lifted his head. That cat wasn't wrong when he called them savage. They don't want me there.
Tumble nodded at the cat. If you're gonna hunt for us, or for yourself, I don't see an issue with you just staying in a fox den.
He nodded, dropping the mouse and pushing it over to him. Feel free to take credit for this. It isn't my best catch, he chuckled.
Humble dipped his head. I need to get back to camp. I'll let you find a spot to sleep. Tumble got up, flicking his tail in a goodbye as he padded off.
Cobalt blinked, processing that for a moment before padding back to the barn. Cobalt watched the moon rise, eyes feeling heavy as he turned around and curled up. Cobalt stirred after sleeping half the night. It was moon high now, a good time for him to hunt without being spotted by a patrol. He lifted the rabbit, heavy on his neck. He was proud of the catch, and even better, he wasn't taking anything away from WindClan. He padded up to the spot where he'd met with the Torty Tom. He slipped into the nearby tunnel to wait for him again. Hey, he perked up. I thought I'd be waiting all day.
Cobalt dipped his head in a grating. It's hard to find your scent when making your den uphill away from the wind.
This isn't my den, his tail twitched. I just couldn't sit out in the moor waiting for you. Come get this hair.
Cobalt stepped forward, padding into the hole to gather the prey.
Next time I'll try to hunt outside WindClan territory, so that the prey is an addition to yours, rather than some other cat catching it.
Cobalt nodded in appreciation. WindClan doesn't know it, but I believe he'd make a great warrior.
He let the compliment wash over him, not interested in becoming a clan member. Take the rabbit back. It's already gone cold. They'll wonder why it took you so long to bring it back.
Cobalt dipped his head and padded off without a word.
Cobalt thought for a bit. He might as well use the rest of the day to find a different hunting ground. He came across the river. He figured this is where WindClan's territory ended, since there is a physical border between here and the oak forest ahead. He held the squirrel in his maw. He hadn't seen squirrels of this size in the moor before. He took a moment to sit on a risen part of the ground, letting his dark fur bask in the sun. Satisfied, he stood again, heading back toward the river he'd crossed. He flinched. There's more of them? The other cats hadn't been too bad. Maybe these ones were nice. These cats smelt different from WindClan. They looked different, too. She got closer, her nose wrinkled. Her patrolmates were further back. It was up to her to get this cat off our territory. Hey, stranger. Hi, he mumbled through the squirrel in his jaws. Brindlesnare shook her head. Looks like they have ThunderClan, woodland prey, she added to her patrolmates. Best be quiet and let them speak, though. He eyed the squirrel. That would be correct, Brindlesnare. This is woodland prey. He looked down at the squirrel, then back at the patrol. Oh. Hunting in our lands. That could get some cat killed who truly needed it in ThunderClan, he muttered to himself. You're on our land, and that's our squirrel. She didn't like being mean, but it was part of her job as a warrior, she rationalized. If you have half the sense to keep your fur, I suggest you leave. With the squirrel? He chirped. No. Wellstring's eyes softened for a moment. Looking at the loner's small build, she couldn't help but pity them. She stepped backwards, hoping that was enough. He hesitated to let go of the prey. Brindlesnare suddenly let out a yowl and sprinted forwards. She grasped the cat's scruff in her maw and shook them violently. He let out a screech, the squirrel flinging from his hold. Brindlesare flung the cat out in front of her. You best run away while you still have legs to run with, she snarled. Wellstring was startled, ears pinned. Hey, hey! She walked forwards and quickly took the squirrel before the loner could. He landed harshly on his hind leg, letting out a squeak as it twisted unnaturally. He shakily got onto anxious paws, padding off. He settled under the shelter of the shed overhang. The barn was quiet. He figured the rogues were taking shelter from the rain inside.
Tumble followed the scent of blood back to the barn. He walked around cautiously before noticing the cat next to the old horse food.
Tumble? He squinted through the rain.
Cobalt, are you okay? Tumble looked at the cat's visible wound. What happened?
I crossed the river to hunt away from WindClan. I didn't know there were more cats beyond the moor. They weren't as friendly.
Tumble frowned before sitting next to the loner. There's cats all over the forest. I should have warned you.
I'll be fine, he nodded. I just twisted my leg weird and it tore the fur.
Tumble looked at the wound before getting up and grabbing Cobalt that was on the hay bale. He attached the cobweb onto the wound. This is not as good without an herb, but it will do, Tumble said after he finished covering the wound. Tumble backed up slightly and sat. There's a gathering tomorrow, he moved before rephrasing. All of the clans are going to get together. I won't be able to see you, he said with an upset tone.
So, no prey tomorrow? He looked up.
Tumble shook his head no. Even if I wasn't busy, you would still need to rest your leg.
You're right. He curled his legs up close to him. Thank you.
Tumble dipped his head. I will be back, I promise. He got up and walked away.
Cobalt got up carefully, leaping onto the hay bale and plopping himself into the nest.
Cobalt! Cobalt! Tumble screamed whispered as he ran to his friend.
What? He squinted. Tumble, what are you doing here again? You know those rogues don't hesitate to kill you. He slipped down.
Tumble disregarded Cobalt's concern as he began speaking sporadically. The gathering! Autumn Star! The leader of the clan that hurt your leg, he started speaking. They're planning on driving out all of the rogues from the barn, including you.
Why? He lifted his head, still tired.
You were hunting for us in their territory. They think WindClan is teaming with all the rogues. He sighed, calming down a bit. They're gonna raid the barn. You need to come with me now.
Too tired to argue, he nodded, following. He stood abruptly, eyes widening and fur prickling along his tail in surprise as the two scampered in.
Macaw Star, he began.
Tumbleweed? What's the meaning of this? He looked past the cat towards the unknown outsider.
Tumble was anxious, but had to come clean. The prey I've been bringing back, it wasn't just me. Cobalt offered to help hunt for the clan, Tumble admitted.
An outsider, hunting for WindClan. He stepped closer, inspecting the cat. Was this a lie? A deception used to get closer to their cats?
Macaw Star, he turned around to continue. Autumn Star's planning on raiding the barn and driving out all of the rogues. Cobalt, despite not being WindClan, has been helping feed the clan. We must protect him, he finished.
He narrowed his eyes. There was a transaction in here, a request, a plea perhaps. You wish us to harbor a loner in times where we are accused of exactly that. He mewed quietly, in question. I didn't mean to cause issues between you and the other clan. He lowered his head. I went into their lane to hunt, so I wouldn't be hunting your prey and feeding it back to you. He hummed lightly in understanding, thinking, You wish to shelter here. For how long? He looked at Tumble. This was his idea.
Tumble looked at Cobalt, remembering they didn't want to be a warrior. Just until Autumn Star finishes the attack on the rogues' barn. Then they can leave.
What about the other cats? He stepped forward. They may not be kind, but they don't deserve to be killed by ThunderClan. He frowned before speaking once more, having considered the options. We will provide you the safety of shelter here, as gratitude for your dedication to feeding our clan. But we will not spare the space, nor the suspicion for those who have shown aggression and carelessness to my warriors. The other outsiders will stay in the barn. Not one more will set foot within this camp, or this territory. Cobalt's eyes softened, but he didn't argue. He knew those cats were being set up for death.
Tumble tipped his head. Thank you, Macaw Star.
He raised a paw, stopping them for a moment, with more words to come. In addition to this, however, you will be trained. I will not have a cat sitting idly in a time of a potential war. You will serve us as a student, an apprentice. Tumbleweed, since you thought it fit to harbor an outsider without guidance, you will be the one to teach them our ways while they stay here. These are the conditions. They will not change, he ended his statement. He set his eyes on Tumble again, waiting for a response.
I will train them as a WindClan apprentice, McCall Star. He dipped his head once more.
He dipped his head sharply. Then let it be known, he gave a nod to the clan, that this cat shall be treated as one of our own until the time comes that they may leave and survive on their own. He turned, not realizing how many cats had gathered. It will be your responsibility to keep that cat out of trouble, he murmured quietly to Tumbleweed as he watched the clan's reactions. He gave another light nod before stepping back. It was clear he did not want this gawking crowd for any longer than it had to be.
I'll show you where you need to sleep since you're an apprentice, he said, padding off. Come on, let's go, Tumble continued in a whisper. This is where apprentices in training go to sleep, Tumble said.
I'll be in here with the kits? He glanced back at Tumble.
They're not kits. Kits are in the nursery. Tumble nodded his head for Cobalt to go in. Go get comfy. I'll be back with some prey for you, he nodded to Cobalt. And don't be mean to the other apprentice, he chuckled before leaving.
He glanced over at the tiny cat. He shrugged, settling in his nest. Turning his attention to the nearby den, he breathed in a long breath before stalking over, his tail flicking anxiously behind him. He looked up at the tall gray and black Tom, tilting his head. He wasted no time in speaking. Your name, Dimgaze begun, tone as unreadable as it ever was. What is it? Cobalt, he dipped his head. He squinted his gaze down at the loner. They were younger. Dimgaze took note of the anxious flick of their tail as he entered their space. He forced his belt to lie flat. I am Dimgaze, warrior of WindClan. Glancing towards the outside of the den, towards the camp clearing, he added in a softer tone, friend of Tumbleweed. That scar on your eye, his eyes shone in curiosity. I don't mean to be rude, but how much of a warrior are you? What kind of fights have you been in? Dimgaze's brow raised in pure shock. It wasn't often one inquired about him, especially not something as mundane as a scar, something that all warriors often had. Silently, Dimgaze moved to sit himself in front of Cobalt. He raised a paw, placing it on the scarred side of his face. From a fight. A terrible, brutal one. Dimgaze looked down at his paws for a moment, sucking in another breath as he decided how to explain everything to Cobalt. My clan was ambushed by badgers, ones that wanted our territory for their own, he explained, glancing away, as if unable to stand the memory. I devised this plan, one that was sure to save the lives of my clanmates. Is that why there's so many dens and tunnels in the moors? Badgers? Looking back up at Cobalt, Dimgaze's eyes were sharp and fierce. Not many badgers around these territories. He trailed off for a moment before adding, but where I'm from. The Tom shut his eyes for a moment, taking his paw off of his left eye. I was once a vagabond, just like you. This is not where I was born. He nodded, his eyes wide in wonder. Not many make the travel to here, to these territories, he sighed lowly. It's not paradise here, that's for certain, but it's some of the better when compared to what else is out there. Dimgaze turned towards Cobalt again, feeling a sense of familiarity between them, now that he had shared part of his past. I'm sure some of our feelings overlap. I couldn't sleep the first few nights I came here, to WindClan. I was born just beyond the High Stones, as a part of a traveling group. Once I was old enough, I left to do some travels of my own. He blinked at Dimgaze. It's rough, sure, but I think it's important that a cat truly knows where they belong. You never know, until you've been to other places, where your heart truly lies. Dimgaze tilted his head, taking in the information with perked ears. Yes, he breathed. And here, do you think this is where you belong? With the 4 clans? WindClan? He swept his tail across his front paws, holding Cobalt's eyes with a much more comfortable stare. This wasn't a choice of mine. He wrapped his tail around his paws, not wanting to seem insulting. It's not bad, but... He looked away. I haven't been here long enough to know. The Chimera warrior dipped his head in clear understanding. Yes, you were staying at the barn before this, I'm guessing. I was certainly trying to, he chuckled lowly. The rogues didn't want me, so I was between dens, trying to find somewhere to be. Dimgaze's gaze darkened. War and bloodshed follows wherever we walk. It's unavoidable. He needed the moss nest below him. He huffed, giving his head a quick shake. How unthoughtful of them. I'm sorry to hear that. Dimgaze glanced out of the den. While not all my clanmates are accommodating, I hope you are not made uncomfortable here. Every cat fights for the right to their own territory. It's not something to be shameful of. He shook out his pelt, letting it lie flat more comfortably. It just means some of us get the bad end of it. The warrior hummed in agreement, a soft smile filling his face. You seem wise beyond your years. I'm sure all of that traveling has filled you with many experiences. Yeah, his voice cracked as he chuckled. Maybe having this loner, Cobalt here, wouldn't be so bad. Dimgates can understand now why Tumbleweed took interest. Dimgate slowly rose to his paws, movement filled with elegance and grace despite his thin, scruffy appearance. I'm just around the corner if you need me. Thank you. He dipped his head respectfully to the older Tom. Another short smile filled his face. No need for thanks, son. You and I are the same. With a soft flick of his tail, Dimgates turned, padding away with silent steps. Cobalt looked down at his paws. There were so many cats here, all with their own unique story.
Tumble walked in after seeing Dimgaze leave. I see you're already making new friends here, he joked.
That friend of yours has some trauma to him, he snorted.
Tumble nodded. Dimgaze is a good warrior. She finally dropped the rabbit. Sorry it took so long. I had to catch a fresh one for you.
Finally I get to eat the caught prey. He smiled, lifting the heavy hair in his maw to set it to his side.
Eat that and we will begin your training.
Alright, mentor. He patted over and ate the hair.
Tumble stared at Cobalt. So what do you know about fighting?
His tail tip twitched. Enough to keep me alive.
If a rogue walked up to you and attacked you, Tumble pounced at the cat with force, but purposely trying not to hurt them.
He rolled on his back, raking his back legs harshly against Tumble's belly with claws sheathed.
Tumble jumped off of the cat.
Cobalt launched himself off of his paws, darting forward and swiping a front leg over Tumble's shoulder and quickly laying him in the dirt, pinning him.
Tumble quickly swiped the sheathed paw at the cat's head.
Cobalt stuck out his tongue as the paw battered his muzzle. He stepped off of Tumble with a confident look spread across his face.
Tumble got up. Alright, so you know how to fight, he said in an excited tone as he looked up, seeing it get dark. I can train you more tomorrow.
Sure, his tail flicked.
Tumble stared at the wounded leg. How is it anyways? Your leg.
Fine. He glanced back at his leg. Much better now, actually. How did you know how to help?
My father is a clan medicine cat. Tumble spoke quietly.
His ears swiveled forward. Oh?
I didn't know at first. Tumble continued looking back towards the medicine den entrance. But my mom, Freckle kept it a secret. It's forbidden for medicine cats to take mates. I figured it out on my own. None of my clan mates know.
He blinked at Tumble. That sounds hard.
It's not that rough. Tumble looked back. Still love my family. He smiled happily.
Yeah. Cobalt blinked at him. He surely didn't intend for it to be a dig at him, but Cobalt couldn't help but notice his own lack of kin. I'll meet you at dawn.
Tumble nodded, not saying a word as he padded off to his nest.
Cobalt grumbled something as he woke. It was just before dawn. He had a hard time sleeping through the night. He usually just took naps throughout the day. He stretched, shaking out his thin fur. He sat at the edge of the path, cleaning any evidence of sleep off of his pelt while he waited for Tumble. His whiskers twitched as he saw the clan group together. He dipped his head. Morning.
Good morning, Cobalt. We're going to join the Dawn Patrol as part of your training.
He nodded, looking around camp anxiously. I'll meet you by the clan exit then. He dismissed himself, letting Tumble gather the cats instead of him. Dim gaze, he chirped, happy to see the friendly senior Tom. He gave his head a slow dip in greeting. Cobalt, good morning.
We'll be doing a hunting patrol, Cobalt stated. He was acting unusually in charge today. Let's go. He flicks his tail behind him as he pads away. Temple stops, looking towards the open grass of the moor. We will be hunting around here, he spoke.
He turned, giving the other 2 patrol members a nod before splitting off. He gave an annoyed huff. The rabbit he'd been tracking was tucked away in its den. He looked up, realizing how close he'd gotten to the barn during his hunt. He looked around, noticing how still everything was around him. He patted over. He sniffed the air. There wasn't a single fresh scent. The ground was littered in claw marks left by fleeing cats, and he could smell their fear. He shook his head, clearing the image from it as he made his way closer to the barn. They're gone, he whispered to himself. There were signs of a big fight, but now everything was disturbingly still. Even though these cats hated his fur, there was a part of him that hoped they made it out alive. He knew from experience those ThunderClan cats were ruthless. He padded forward, nearly jumping out of his pelt when he spotted movement behind him. He stepped back slightly, but the Grey Tom seemed relaxed. Is this all that's left? He croaked. Yeah, he eventually piped. I wasn't here for the fight, only saw the aftermath. He let his gaze hit the floor, still distraught by the idea that cats had died for something that he possibly started. He swallowed dryly, giving the stranger a glance before leaving. He stopped, blinking over that familiar figure that made its way through the tall heather. Hi, his tail flicked. Did Tumble go back to camp? Cobalt, wasn't expecting to see you so soon, he hummed, continuing his trek to the herbs. We haven't seen him yet, so possibly. Dimgaze glanced back at the smaller Tom. Can't find him? Haven't looked very far, he assured, padding towards the camp. He poked at Tumble's side with a soft paw.
Tumble basked in the sun before setting up in a panic as he heard Cobalt approach him.
Autumn Star did what was promised, he informed grimly.
Tumble frowned as he looked at Cobalt's expression. I'm sorry to hear that. You knew it was going to happen either way.
I thought the rogues would put up a fight, but there were only signs of terrified fleeing cats, and a mess was made of the inside of the barn.
He dipped his head in respect for Cobalt's has fallen. A new worry appears in Tumble's head. What about you? Do you plan to leave now that ThunderClan isn't a threat to the barn?
He blinked at Tumble. He tried to find the words. Me trying to wedge my way into the clan's cause to this fight, and even if the barn wasn't vacant, I wouldn't want to stay.
Tumble stared sadly at the loners' words. But why? You've proven that you're capable of being a warrior. You could stay in WindClan and be part of us.
I told you before, I'm not a clan cat. He looked away from Tumble's distraught expression. I appreciate the shelter from ThunderClan, I really do. You know, all I ever wanted was to make things easier for other cats. Do something good for the cats I come across, and then move on. This isn't right for me, Tumble. There's something out there that needs that act of kindness. Somewhere that needs me. He wanted to say more than WindClan does, but he could tell his words were falling on deaf ears. You could come with me.
I can't. Tumble looked away. WindClan needs me. I can't stop being a warrior. I'm sure something out there will need you as much as its clan needs me. He gave a sad but assuring smile to Cobalt.
You understand, then. He dipped his head, disappointed in the answer. He wasn't sure what he expected, though. Of course Tumble couldn't leave. He stood, giving Tumble a lick on the shoulder. Tell Dimgaze I said thank you. He looked back. And you too, I suppose. He joked with a chuckle.
Tumble dips his head. I hope you find what you're looking for. He gave one last smile to his friend.
He gave a last look at Tumble's face, trying to memorize it. He didn't want this cat to leave his mind. He turned on his paws and patted away.